Hello, is a Sinister Gambino here with a new video. In this video I'm going to be doing a review on the Karin Kuruma and the Karin Armored Kuruma. And the reason that I am doing that is because it coincides with my contact mission content. It was the first vehicle I used in that series for the main installments, so I figured it would be nice to do a review on those two vehicles. And by the way, I only bought the Karin Kuruma for this review, so I won't be having it customized for the performance test. As for the price of both the Karin Kuruma and the Karin Kuruma Armored, these are with trade prices, by the way. You want to go on GTA Wiki to look for actual prices without trade prices if you haven't done the Felicia job finale, whatever. The normal Karin Kuruma with a trade price is $95,000, while the Armored Kuruma is $525,000 with a trade price. So unique options for the vehicle in terms of customization are bumpers, exhaust. The Karin Kuruma only has a roll cage option. The normal Kuruma also has a skirts option as well. And then the spoiler options it has even. And the only options with the Kuruma that aren't available for the armored variant, as we'll see later, is going to be the armor upgrade and then the roll cage option. As for performance of the Karin Kuruma, keep in mind I said earlier this is a stock version. I didn't bother customizing it, but refer to Bruffy 1322 for these stats. But it gets 31st place in terms of lap time and 48th place in terms of top speed as of April 2018, so that does not include the after hour update, and it also does not include the arena war update as well. How good are those two performances in a lap time and top speed exactly? For a lap time, I would say it is pretty average in the class. It's like right in the middle. And then for top speed, I would say it's like way below average. It's almost one of the last place vehicles on the list. And now we will be going into the Armored Kuruma. So the Armored Kuruma, like I mentioned earlier, but just for demonstration purposes, will be on the screen. As you can notice on the way top, there's no armor upgrade, so that will save you $50,000. And there's also no roll cage option as well. Now, I'm not sure if it has less options in any certain categories in the Kuruma. I'm not entirely sure, but the main exception is no armor and roll cage. And then as for the performance of the Karin Armored Kuruma, it's actually much worse than the normal Kuruma, which is weird. Whereas the Armored Duke of Death, for example, has better stats than the normal Dukes. So it places 48th place in terms of lap time, and then it also places 50th place in terms of top speed. And in this clip I show a demonstration that even if you destroy a door, you can't shoot with sticky bombs. So to balance out this vehicle, you cannot use sticky bombs or other throwables with the vehicle. And also the lap time and top speed are both pretty poor, I would say, for this vehicle. And going through a minigun test, it doesn't really take much ammo, but I did shoot the engine part. I'm not sure if it would have made a difference if I shot the armor section. As for explosive resistance, it's non-existent. Doesn't have any. Since this is arguably the most bullet resistant vehicle in the game, I wanted to see how it fared against the cops, and I only lasted like 2 minutes in single player because I did create a single player glitch years back to get this in single player. But yeah, it only lasted a couple minutes and exploded for whatever random reason. Probably because of like how the physics work differently in the single player and whatnot. But I'm sure it's very viable in online, no doubt on that. And I did want to mention a very ideal counter against Armored Kuruma, which is only in the current generation. It's not in the last generation. But you can just use full metal jacket rounds to blast through the windows. once you have once you break a window, you can just use normal bullets from there to destroy a very specific window that you may want destroyed. As for that, it's not really that hard to counter because it does get blown up by one explosive. I did really want to mention that as well. Now it is time for me to finally go into the pros and cons list. However, first I'll mention how good is it in missions, and I'll group heists in it as well. I didn't put any filming of a heist setup or a heist, but obviously it's going to be just as good in a heist and a contact mission. Later I'll go into how good it is in VIP work, since those work more with like random locations and whatnot every time you do them. So technically its viability is going to be a bit different in that. So to start off with the pros and cons list, I'll be mentioning the normal Karin Kuruma. Keep in mind as well, since it's not weaponized or anything, I'm not going to have much pros or cons with it. And that does not reflect it, and it's not going to have like a higher review because of that. But to get into the pros of the normal Karin Kuruma, it is very cheap, and with a trade price it's less than 100k minimum. Otherwise it's probably still under 200k, I would say, which is definitely not a terrible price for a sports car. And then I also put it's a nostalgic car. This is only for the Karin Kuruma for the second pro I put on here. And the reason for that, of course, is there's no Armored Kuruma aside for Grand Theft Auto Online, technically. Well, I do have clips of it being in a single player. That was done with a creator's single player glitch a long time ago, a couple so years ago or whatever, where I put the Karin Kuruma into single player. For the third pro I have for the normal Kuruma, it has a much better lap time and slightly better top speed than the Armored Kuruma. It places 17 places better, I'm pretty sure, in lap time as of April 2018, from what I remember. Meaning After Hours Arena War is not in account with that. And then it's only like 2 places ahead for top speed, so it's not that much ahead of the Armored Kuruma in that case. Fourth pro I have for it, which will be shared with the Armored Kuruma, of course, is it has 4 seats. And especially when it was introduced with the Heist update, that is very important technically, because you could fit a whole heist crew in the vehicle. So definitely with the update it came out in, that is definitely a very important pro in my opinion. Fifth pro I have for the normal Kuruma is that it's the only variant with a roll cage. I personally really like roll cages. Other people may not, that's fine, but it's nice to have the option with the normal variant of the Kuruma to have a roll cage. Even though I don't see how they couldn't have like put a roll cage in the armored version as well. And then finally for the 6 Pro, I put it has an above average customization. Of course, I mean, it has better customizations than typical on a sports car, I'm assuming, of course. Sports cars, in my opinion, a lot of them don't typically have good customizations depending on how they like look or like the brand of it and whatnot. But either way, I'll go into the 3 cons I have for the normal Kuruma. First con I have is that it has much less purpose than the armored variant, of course, since you're going to be shot just as easily in it as any other normal vehicle. And then it is also has less purpose due to the average lap time it has. So even though it's 17 places above in lap time, it's still not enough to make it much more viable than the Karin Armored Kuruma. The second con I have for the normal Kuruma is it's the only variant with an armor upgrade in LSC. So what I mean by that is you don't have to pay 50k for max armor, because there is no armor options for the Karin Armored Kuruma, which I'll mention later as well, of course. And then the final con I have for the normal Kuruma is it has little to no customization advantages, which of course I kind of went into earlier. I mean, its only advantage in customization is a roll cage. Alright, on to the 14 pros I have for the armored version of the Karin Kuruma. First one I have is, it only applies for last generation, of course, as it's the only major armored vehicle last generation. Reasoning for that is because the Duke of Death is returning player content on the next generation for people who have a last generation version and a current generation version linked on the same social club account. And then second pro I have, oh yeah, never mind, as well there's the vehicles from executives and other criminals, but of course that update was by the time that only next generation got updates. Second pro is that it's mostly extremely bulletproof. I'll get into the exception with the cons list, which was also put on a clip that I went over in this video earlier ago. I also put it as almost impossible to break windows, which actually meant that one part for the third pro. But the second pro I put mostly extremely bullet resistant because it still has big vulnerabilities, as I shown with the minigun test. Fourth pro I put is that it has almost full armor plating, which goes into the same thing as well, sort of, where there's like one portion of it that's not armored, which we'll be getting into later. Fifth pro I put is it lacks armor upgrades, meaning you don't have to pay 50k for the max armor, 100% armor. And then 6 pro I put is most drive-by weapons are usable, which for current vehicles with armor plating options you can put on for better bullet resistance, you're typically more limited on your weapons. Don't think it works the same way as the Armored Kuruma. For like example, you can kind of see what I'm talking about in the Insurgent review that I did on the 3 different variants for. Next pro I put is it can shoot almost 360 degrees around the car. I mean, you can almost shoot anywhere in the vehicle, which is definitely nice for an armored vehicle for sure, because they could have made really limited angles with that kind of vehicle. It is great at surviving cops, which specifically for the last generation, it's good for Lester's free mode event from the Heist update that's no longer in the current generation. Next pro I have is that it's one of the most essential heist and mission vehicles, because for the heist it's definitely going to be one of your most useful assets, along with like a bulletproof helmet and whatnot, for example. Next pro also goes into heists, and it makes the criminal mastermind challenges doable, which is my next pro, of course, because without an armored Kuruma it's probably much harder, of course, to even pull off the criminal mastermind challenges. And then for next pro I have, it cannot be shot from the side windows. I know it might sound weird I'm bringing that up, but the Duke of Death, which is another armored vehicle, you can get shot through the side windows even though it doesn't look like it. So that's why I put that as a pro. Next pro I have is it has a very great price for what you get. So I don't think the price is actually much worse than the Karin Kuruma, despite its being worth much more, even with the trade price, of course. And then second to last pro I have is it has 4 seats. Once again, like I put with the Karin Kuruma, especially for an armored vehicle, that's very damn good. No doubt on that. And then for my final pro, I put that the Karin Armored Kuruma has great customizations for an armored vehicle. Literally only one customization of the normal Kuruma didn't make it onto the Armored Kuruma for like cosmetic modifications. Finally, for the 6 cons I have for the Karin Armored Kuruma, the first one I have is that windows can be destroyed by FMJ rounds, which obviously is to be expected, but there is a big reason why I'm mentioning that con, is because the recent Sasquatch from the Arena War update, even though it has pretty much bulletproof windows. You can't even destroy those windows with full metal jacket rounds. I even checked Professional's review on it recently since I almost didn't believe what I thought I heard, but I did watch it again and it's true. So, the Sasquatch is probably the most bulletproof vehicle in the game, but still, you can destroy the Armored Kuruma's windows of full metal jacket rounds, which for whatever reason you can't do on the Sasquatch that recently came out. And then for the second con I believe the right terminology is grill, otherwise I'll just call it engine, is unusually exposed. And what I mean by that is it's the one part that's not armored, which you can see in the minigun test was the area I targeted, and it blew up within like 200 rounds. So that's why I put that as a con. For con number 3, I put throwables cannot be used, especially without a particular door, which I showed on one of the clips that if you destroy a door, even you can't shoot throwables out of a certain side. So that is unfortunate. I think it should have been allowed if there was like certain doors broken off, so that you could like trade for a less armor for throwable usage. That would have been a pretty cool thing for Rockstar to do if any certain doors were broken, that you can actually throw throwables out of the broken doors. And then fourth con I have, this one isn't really going to impact the scoring, just like this one isn't really going to impact my scoring of the vehicle, but of course it has no roll cage option as I mentioned before. Second to last con number 5 that I have, is that the doors coming off can be deadly, which of course isn't a fault of the vehicle. I'm just saying it, of course, for common sense, that if you're going to destroy a vehicle's door, you're going to be much more vulnerable to firepower in this vehicle. And then much more as well than other vehicles, as of course other vehicles don't have the armor plating. And then for the last con I have for the Karin Armored Kuruma, I put it as much worse placement in lap time, being 17 places worse than a normal Kuruma, making it one of the worst vehicles in the sports category for lap time. And that's pretty much going to be it for this video here. I would say personally that I only found a certain number of cons that I would say really put this vehicle in a terrible spot. But honestly, I think that I'll be giving this vehicle a 10 out of 10, because the cons that it does have, the big major cons that it has, they are reasonable cons and are good for balance purposes and whatnot. So I think I made this my first perfect score review. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed.